I'm Joe. You may know me from other videos, such as my Nerf videos, or more recently my Pulp Nonfiction channel. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Anyway, I'm here to talk to you today about Star Fox. Yeah, you know, Star Fox. Yeah, Star Fox. Super Nintendo, right here. You know, for a company like Nintendo who has so many franchises, it's easy to lose some of them in the hustle. I think Star Fox is one of them. Anyway, March 24th, 1993 was the day that Star Fox for Super Nintendo was first released in North America. Now for Japan, it was February 21st, but considering that I missed that one, we're just going to go by the North American release. So, it's 2013. It's March 2013. It's been 20 years since Star Fox first came out for Super Nintendo. So, we have this franchise that's been going for 20 years. That's pretty impressive. And unfortunately, Nintendo is making no notice of this. I mean, they did so for Mario, Zelda, and Kirby even, but no Star Fox, which is unfortunate. As of now, there have been 5 entries in the series, and a 6th being a remake. However, they have not announced a new game as of now, and I hope that they do sometime because this series desperately needs a reboot. And F-Zero, but that's another story. So how did such a game from like this grow into a franchise loved by many, despised by many? Well, not exactly despised, more of looked on with trepidation. So anyway, I'm going to be with you, and I'm going to talk about the history of Star Fox. A look back at 20 years of barrel rolls. That's a good title. I think I'm going to stick with that. And also at the end, I'm going to talk about my personal experience with Star Fox and how I got into the series and whatnot. Where to begin? Well, we'll start at the beginning. Star Fox was released on the Super Nintendo on February 27th, 1993, at least in Japan. America got it on March 24th, which is a bit late, which is the day I'm going to be releasing this video. The game was originally started to show off the Super FX chip, something that had not been seen before for its time. However, it was built with characters and a story that was pretty epic, even to this day, and also quite original. I mean, animals flying planes, how do you top that? Anyway, the story, while basic, is good enough to serve the purpose, and I do get a sense that the feeling of gratitude and respect from General Pepper to the Star Fox members is legit and genuine. However, the game is not without its faults. The primitive 3D graphics definitely show nowadays, and the lack of a targeting reticle doesn't help. I'm often having trouble with peripheral vision and seeing whether I'm actually hitting things. The game is also probably the hardest Star Fox game. I've only been able to beat it on the easiest mode. But lots of secrets, cool Easter eggs like Out of This Dimension, which is kind of disturbing if you think about it, all lead this to be a pretty good game, especially for its time. I'm surprised I don't see it on more top 10 SNES games list. It really is quite good. Something else I think I should mention is that it was called Starwing in regions outside of America and Europe, in the PAL regions. You can see the picture above. I'm not sure why this happened, but probably because it had to do with the name and the trademarks and all that legal jazz. Same thing happened to Star Fox 64, but we'll get into that later. However, it turns out that Nintendo was planning on continuing the franchise in the form of a direct sequel known as Star Fox 2. The game was supposed to feature free-form combat and a tactical system, one that's similar to Star Fox Command, which we'll get into later. The game was also to have strategy elements, also similar to Command, and many of the elements that were to be introduced in this game made their way into previous installments of the franchise, like Star Fox 64. However, the game was cancelled. The most popular theory as to why was that the N64 was just around the corner, and that there wanted to be a clean break between the SNES 3D graphics of old and the N64 graphics of the new. It is unfortunate that this was cancelled, and I hope that they someday re-release it, maybe as part of the Virtual Console on the Wii U or whatever. However, if you want to play the game, beta versions of the game do exist online, and it's very near to completion actually, only a few bugs and the like. However, you don't need to feel too bad, because the game made instead, Star Fox 64, or Lylat Wars as is known in the PAL regions, is the good one, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Star Fox game that you should look to for reference. Firstly, the branching path system makes it so that you can play the game 20 times different ways, not to mention different levels within each route. The game also has extremely tight controls and is one of the best controlling fighting games I've ever seen. Lock-on features, bombs, health meters that expand with the rings, it's all just adds up to a wonderful experience in the gameplay. Round this all off with a story that's good enough, even though not the most complicated, but enough to keep your interest, and you got yourself one heck of a game. People, this is the best Star Fox game. Some people might debate, but I definitely think it's the best Star Fox game, and I think most people would agree with me in that regard. It definitely has the most replay value, and I always like to go back and play. However, here's where things start to get weird. You see, Rareware, the company behind such classics as Donkey Kong Country and Banjo-Kazooie, were making a game called Dinosaur Planet for the N64. It was to be like a Legend of Zelda style game, I suppose, but eventually it shifted development to the GameCube. And one day Shigeru Miyamoto was walking to the offices and noticed that the character looks a lot like Fox McCloud from Star Fox. So what do you know, they decided to put him in. Yeah. Pretty dumb on Nintendo's part, I gotta say. But, cut on free breaks. So this led to Star Fox Adventure. First released September 23rd, 2002, this game gets a lot of flack for not really living up to the original, and I agree with that. This game never should have been a Star Fox game. That being said, though, the game isn't exactly, well, bad. Let me explain. Even though this never should have been a Star Fox game, as I said, the gameplay is actually quite good. In fact, it's one of the better Legend of Zelda clones that I've ever played. I was able to sit through it, and it actually is kind of fun. So, the verdict of this game is that it never should have been a Star Fox game. But I think maybe if they had gone with the original Dinosaur Planet idea, people would have actually liked this game a whole lot, and it would have been talked about in great detail, as opposed to one of the forgetful Star Fox games that is probably, admittedly, my least favorite due to its non-similarities to the rest of the franchise. But thankfully, on February 14th, 2005, Star Fox Assault was released for the GameCube. Co-developed by Namco, this game sort of returns back to its roots a little bit. Although it does have R-Wing sections, Landmaster sections, and on-foot sections. A unique addition, to say the least. Needless to say that after Star Fox Adventure's drastic departure from the formula, it's nice to see the familiar forms and lots of R-Wing and Landmaster sections. However, not many people like this game. I'm not sure why. To be honest, the R-Wing sections are phenomenal, although the on-foot sections are a little bit unpolished at times. In fact, sometimes they can be downright cheap. However, I still like it a whole lot. I think that the story, while basic, still serves its purpose enough, although I wish it was a little bit longer. And not to mention, there's also a multiplayer mode. Yeah, 4-player multiplayer. And I think a lot of people overlook this mode. It actually is really, really good. It's kind of like Halo and GoldenEye in third person in a way. I think it's almost as fun as GoldenEye. That's how fun I think it is. So basically, Star Fox Assault. Some people don't like it, but I still think it's pretty good. Check it out if you wanna. Moving on. But we still have one more game to get through, and that's Star Fox Command for the DS. First released in summer of 1996, this game is the final game chronologically in the series as of now, and also the most recent, fresh, new installment in the series. Being on the DS, the game utilizes, instead of controls by D-pad and buttons, the game uses a stylus to control your R-Wing. That's another thing, this game is only R-Wing, no on-foot sections from Adventures or Assault. This stylus command is pretty good. I mean, I like it some. I mean, I would still prefer if there were controls with the buttons, but the stylus works pretty well. Also, the stylus is used for certain map sections where it also incorporates strategy elements along with the action-packed R-Wing sections. These are pretty good. They are sometimes a little bit unfair and seem more about luck rather than skill, but still, they're pretty fun to play, and since I suck at strategy games, this simple strategy is good enough for me. And as for the story, it's, well, interesting. What I mean by that is that instead of just a straight path like the previous games, or even taking alternate paths, this time the choices you take will actually affect the story as well, and you get different endings based on this. Personally, I don't really like this because since this is the last game of the series as of now, I have no idea which ending is actually canon. But it does lead for replayability of the sense. Although, to tell you the truth, the story is kind of dark and bleak. There's no real hope except in a few of the endings. So it's kind of depressing at points. But the stylus controls do work well. So this is a good game, but not my favorite in the series by far. Now, as for non-video game material, there's actually very little to go on over. Yeah, Star Fox hasn't exactly been promoted like some of Nintendo's other franchises. However, there have been some comics of them, and there are only really three notable ones. The first one was a Nintendo Power Run that ran in the magazine, which is okay, but considering it's based off the first game, there are multiple plot holes that are no longer apparent, making this an officially non-canon one. There's also a European one based on Lilat Wars, which is okay, the art's not bad, but it portrays the bad ending of Star Fox 64 for some reason. Third is Star Fox Farewell Beloved Falco, only released in Japan as part of the Star Fox Adventures Instruction Manual. You can still find translations online, and I recommend reading it. It actually is quite good. And it tells the story in between Star Fox 64 and Star Fox Command. So check it out. These comics are all pretty good. I just wish that Nintendo would make some more Star Fox related non-game material. It seems this series doesn't get the love in that department as much as some other series will. I also feel I should mention that there were two other games besides Star Fox 2 that were canceled prematurely. One was a game for the Virtual Boy, which to be honest I'm kind of glad they didn't make. The other one was an arcade game, also announced alongside Star Fox Assault, and I kind of wish that they did make it. I think the idea was to recapture Star Fox 64 while Assault was going to be like a space adventure type, and arcade was just going to be classic sense. I wish they released it, but nothing was heard about it after it was announced, so we're probably never going to see these games ever again. But what are you going to do, right? Star Fox has also been very prominent in Super Smash Bros., being one of the original series represented in the N64 game, with Fox. Melee introduced Falco, a clone of sorts, and Brawl introduced Wolf, who's more different. These characters are actually some of my most fun to play in any of the games, and partly because I like the series, and partly because I think their playstyles are very fun. So, yeah, good characters to the Super Smash Bros. Check them out. As for present-day Star Fox, there is Star Fox 64 3D for the 3DS, a remake of the original N64 Classic. Released in 2011, I regret to say that this mode didn't really add too much. I mean, the graphics are a whole lot better, and I'm glad that I can play Star Fox away from my N64 or Wii, but I just wish that they had added a little bit more. The score attack is nice, the online is nice, it's all just nice. But considering this is the first game in 5 years, it doesn't really cut it for me, and I hope they make a real new Star Fox game now. And that's pretty much it.
So there you have it, the complete history of Star Fox. It's a bit much, I know, but considering other series like Mario and Zelda, it's actually not that big. 5 games, whew, really. So, on to my personal history. I'm going to tell you how I got into the series and why it's one of my favorites. You see, it all started with Super Smash Brothers. Yeah, for Nintendo Wii, I was trying to pick a main. You see, and at first it was Sonic because I was a fan of Sonic at the time. Still am, but not as much as I was back then. And I was watching some reviews, and some people were talking about how their favorite characters had returned, and I was thinking, well, what if I want to go back and I want to play Melee or the N64 one, and I gotta pick a character? I won't be able to pick Sonic. So I decided to pick a character that had not only been in Melee, but also in the N64 one. So as you can imagine, this limited my options a little bit. I didn't really like many of the choices. I didn't like Mario and Donkey Kong and Link. Those were all too mainstream. But and then I remember one. I said, Fox. Yeah, Fox. He looks pretty cool. How about him? I tried him. I like his playstyle, so I chose him. And after that, I just basically I learned more about the series. I got into the characters. I actually own all the games as of now. Super Nintendo, Star Fox 64 on both cartridge and virtual console, Adventures, Assault, Command, and even a remake. And I gotta say, it has had many ups and downs, really. I think Star Fox Adventures never should have existed. Assault and Commander, alright though. A lot of people say that the series isn't actually that good. I disagree. While it has had many tonal shifts, it still has been, the quality has been good. Star Fox Adventures in particular, I think a lot of people hate on the game, but to be honest, I do wish that they had never called it a Star Fox game. It should have just remained Dinosaur Planet as it was. However, the gameplay is still pretty good. I was able to sit through it, and I actually had fun. So don't just disjudge it just because it's a Star Fox game, even though it really shouldn't be. So basically, yeah. And I really do hope that that they announce a new Star Fox game for either Wii U, 3DS. I don't care. Just give me some more Star Fox. No more remakes. Those don't count. Or, you know, a re-release of the canceled Star Fox 2. That would be pretty awesome, too. So, yeah, that's basically it. Thanks for watching my video. Remember to like, subscribe, favorite, all that jazz. Alright, so this is Joe, and I like Star Fox.